Hi, my love. Welcome to the Gemma Hanley podcast. My name is Gemma. I'm your host. This is the space where I have honest conversations about overcoming anxiety and overwhelm so that you can calm your nervous system and feel really confident and happy and calm from within yourself. Along the way, I share my own stories of holistically healing 23 years of anxiety and depression myself. And so if you're a woman seeking answers to perfectionism, people-pleasing, burnout, resistance, you may love, you're in the right place. Let's do it. Let's begin. And before we begin, I want to pay my respects and acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land upon which I am recording from, which is the Gubbi Gubbi tribe. And I want to extend that acknowledgement to their elders, past, present, and emerging, as well as anybody of Indigenous or Torres Strait Islander heritage watching this replay. Hello, beautiful woman, and welcome back to the Gemma Hanley podcast. This week's episode, not only is it the last episode of the podcast for 2024 for the year, it is also a follow-on from last week. This is part 2 of a 2-part workshop series that I'm running on the podcast to help you deepen into goals and a vision for 2025 that would feel really true and authentic and real for you. Not what other people expect of you, not even what you have expected from yourself up until now or in the past, if that is no longer resonant for you. One of the things we talked about last week was the ability to let go of things that were once maybe everything you wanted, or were once actually the most true, authentic, real expression for you. But things have shifted, you've evolved, you've changed, and you're allowed to give yourself full permission to shed anything that is no longer relevant. And in fact, when we don't do that, we hold ourselves back. You don't have to go back and listen to last week's episode. If you haven't listened to it, what I did is we did a review of the year that has been. I guided you through a subconscious connection practice to help you connect with and uncover, retrieve any answers from the body, from the nervous system, from the subconscious, which is different to your intellectual, logical brain and your mind. So bringing the mind body together around self-sabotage or around resistance or around fear of stepping out of your comfort zone, being seen, maybe disappointing others, not being approved of. And so, yeah, totally up to you. You can definitely just listen to this episode if you want. What I will say is that for me personally, there have been times where that process I took you through of reviewing the year that has been and all of the data that you've got to draw upon has actually created way more clarity, way more confidence, and way more results in my life in the year ahead than setting goals has. So I don't want to dismiss or diminish how powerful that is. It's extremely powerful. It's one of those real talk conversations where we stop sweeping shit under the rug and we start looking at it instead so that we don't repeat the same patterns. And it's up to you. With this one today, like I said, it will be also a workshop style, and you can just listen along to this. If you hear one thing that has you thinking about your goal setting or what it is that you deeply want most from the year ahead, in a different way, or it reveals something new to you, that is amazing. It doesn't mean you have to sit down and do all of your goals. And I really want to give this big permission slip because it is absolutely normal and healthy that we might have a different need at the start of each year around what goal setting looks like. That might mean that we are really feeling like we need to dive in and gain a lot of clarity and create a lot of structure for ourselves. And so it is going to be important for us to sit down and have all of that in writing in maybe more of a detailed way. And then there'll be other years where maybe consolidation or relaxing a little bit and letting go of control and always being in doer mode and maybe overachieving is something that you're needing to lean into.
Maybe you've just had a wildly successful year where so much has transformed and you've evolved so much. And it feels very true to you right now that you just allow some space to experience that, to enjoy that without asking more of yourself immediately. That is beautiful as well, right? And I also want to name that I know the 10th of December, which is the day I'm recording this, it'll go live in a couple of days' time. For some of you is very early to even be contemplating setting goals. And so if that is you, listen along now. Don't ask anything more of yourself and feel free to come back and revisit this maybe closer to the new year, maybe at some point in January where it does become more relevant for you. So that's what I wanted to say about that. And we're going to dive in. Two main sections of this workshop that I'm going to guide you through. The first is around bringing awareness and intention to the state of being or the themes that you want to create in 2025 for yourself. And you will have probably heard this before. It's the classic way that we uncover and select a word that really resonates for what we want more of. So I'm going to guide you through some reflection questions to uncover that and also give you some of my own personal examples. And then we're going to move into goal setting. I'm doing this a little bit different to how I've ever done it before. I mentioned last week on that workshop episode that I tweak it a little bit each year to make it a little bit more relevant for what I feel is needed. So I'm going to move you through some prompts that help you to clarify goals that are true to you. Then I'm also going to move you through some more question prompts that help you to check, are these actually your goals? And then also help you to check, are we being realistic here about the spread of resources that is required to achieve all of these things? Yeah. Are we maybe asking too much of ourselves? Are we maybe staying too safe? Are we actually maybe setting goals or setting a vision that is very, very easy because we're afraid of failing? So I'm going to walk you through that as well. At any time that you want to, of course, hit pause, take any notes. You can do this in real time if you want with your goal setting. So you might pause after I ask certain questions and move through the process. And this is also on YouTube as well as the audio on the podcast. If you would prefer to sit down and fully embrace the workshop style, that is available for you too. So let's dive in. We're going to explore first this state of being. What's the state of being that you want to embody, that you want to be, and that you want to see really rock solid themes of how you have shown up and what you have created when you arrive to the end of 2025 next year. So the first question I want to give you here as a prompt is, who do you want to be? Who do you want to be? What are the words that describe that? Do you want to work on being more nurturing? Yeah, rather than maybe more so of this tough love and directness. Are you wanting to work on being more nurturing and compassionate? Yeah, such beautiful fuel for the fire and the spark of in our relationships. Do you want to be a leader? Do you want to level up in your leadership, whether that is in your own life where you take responsibility for more things and you step more into your power, which would have a flow-on effect of you leaning out of codependency patterns, right? And into more independence and interdependence as well. Do you want to feel more, do you want to be more confident? Yeah, do you want that to really ring true as a way that you describe yourself, that you're a confident person? So that's the first question. Who do you want to be? The second question here is, how do you want to feel? Do you want to feel energetic? Do you want to feel enthusiastic about your life? That you're so engaged that it just lights you up inside? Do you want to feel really connected to yourself, meaning you're really attuned to your intuition? You know who you are, what you want, what's right for you, what's not right for you, and you know how to to speak up about that and share that in a loving way? Do you want to feel more connected? Yeah. If this is something that is feeling difficult for you to answer, you can start with what you don't want. Yeah. So if you don't want to feel scattered, if you don't want to feel conflicted or doubtful or uncertain or uneasy or anxious or unclear or confused, what is it that you do want to feel? And connected would be a version of an answer to that question of what you do want to feel instead of that. Yeah. And the last question I'll give you here to stimulate some of these words is, what do you want to create? Yeah, what do you want to create? I remember in 2021, and it really stretched through to 2023 for me, this theme. A home was something that I was really craving to create. And so I really focused on that. And I knew that where I was living, I was about to move into state from. So there was a few stages to me creating a home, which is a feeling for me. Of safety, of spaciousness, of simplicity, of luxury, yeah, of warmth, of ease. So that was one of the things in the past that I really wanted to focus on creating. Is it a feeling of belonging, a sense of belonging? That's what you want to create. And that might mean making an effort to expand your community, spend time in different environments with new people. Are there new hobbies that you might need to explore and lean into? Is it more about actually owning the truth of who you are without trying to shapeshift and hide parts and second guess and question whether certain parts of you are going to be liked and accepted? And so you're always 1 foot in, 1 foot out, which means you can never feel like you're going to belong, regardless of who you're spending time with, right? All of that as a theme, that as a focus, that as a creation, that feeling would anchor back down into a word like belonging. Peace. Do you want to create a sense of peacefulness in your life? That could look like how full or how spacious your schedule is. It could look like the environments that you're living in. Yeah, so whether you're maybe living on a main road that's really noisy and busy, and you could even, like me, I'm sitting here recording this looking out at a mountain. You could be living in this location, but if there is just clutter and mess and etc. surrounding you, that's still not going to feel peaceful. Is part of peacefulness giving yourself permission to step out of relationships where people do not care to understand you, do not care to listen to you, or creating distance in those definitely doesn't have to be a complete stepping out of. Yeah. These are all examples of different words when we consider, what's the state of being I want to create, cultivate, give my time, energy, love, and attention to in 2025? What are the themes that I want to be consistently showing up to and progressing forwards and working on? I've given you quite a few examples there already, but I'll give you a couple more. For example, in 2022, my word was listen. That was one of my words. Listen, listening, listener. And that's because I wanted to learn even more deeply to tune into and trust my intuition, especially when it didn't make sense and it make sense logically and it felt really scary. Yeah. I also wanted to feel heard and listened to more deeply by the people around me. And I wanted to listen to and hear and be present with the people around me more deeply too. Yeah. So that was an example of of one of my past words. When I first, in 2023, year before last, when I first moved to the Sunshine Coast, completely new location, didn't really know anyone. There are a couple of friendships. Groundedness, grounding, grounded, ground. That was my word because I really wanted to focus on settling and building out community and bringing the attitude and the devotion that this is somewhere I was going to land long term, which is really beautiful because I definitely feel like that now. I feel like I, at times, don't have the ability to keep up with the amount of community that I have here now. And there's always something happening. And this is the longest I would say that I've ever lived in a home other than my childhood home, I would say. I'm pretty sure that is accurate. And no plans to move, which just feels so nice. And then last year, and I really want to share this as an example because it didn't transpire, it didn't translate. My life was not a reflection of the word that I chose for this year, rather. So interesting. I keep already saying last year about 2024. Normally, I'm the reverse on that, and it takes me ages to realize we've moved into a new year. We're not even there yet, and I'm already saying it. So this year, and I shared about this on my vlog actually on YouTube, I've started vlogging behind the scenes parts of my life just to share more about who I am and how I use the tools that I teach of mindset and somatic nervous system healing, the values I live by, what it looks like to have values and actually have a life that represents those values, how I make big choices, all of these sorts of things, my habits, my rituals. And in the first one that I released, I talked about how my goals for this year haven't taken place. And so it was cool when I looked back on my notes before hitting record on this podcast. I was like, what was the word for this year? And the word for this year for me was exposure. And I'd written, I'll read this out for you. I want to expose myself to more events, people, and travel, to have experiences that hold adventure and expose me to new opportunities. And I know when I zoom out, that's definitely happened. My community has more than doubled. I have had lots of in-person experiences that have been incredible. I've traveled back to my hometown of Melbourne more this year than any other year. There's been lots of visitors here. I've also spent quite a bit of time in Brisbane because my partner is living and running his business there. And so it's happened, but not in the way that I desired for it to happen. And that was that I really had a plan for this year that I would do a lot of working holidays and that I would probably travel every 3 to 4 months overseas. And I have not been overseas once. There's been other things that have really called for my attention. My health has been one, which I've talked about on the podcast as well, particularly my gut health and experiencing a parasite and then a bad flu this year. And my relationship with Harry, which was absolutely at the top of the list of things that I wanted to call in, create, feel, experience this year. So I think it's an okay trade-off. And if I was to reflect, the word that for quite some time now, for months now, has even since maybe mid this year, has been so present for me to describe what this year has actually held as a theme and as a state of being, it's felt like preparation. There's been a lot of groundwork going on. And I could even include my relationship with Harry in that we've been setting the really solid, strong, intentional foundations for a lifelong connection and getting really clear on who we are as individuals, what the life is that we want to create together, how our values interweave, how they don't. all of this stuff and just getting to know each other on a really beautiful, deep level, which has been amazing. And, you know, in terms of preparation, I've already booked my first overseas trip for next year. I'm going to India. We haven't booked, but we've planned Europe as well. I don't know if I've shared this. Harry is Austrian. So his family live in Austria, in Europe. So there'll be lots of Europe travel ahead in my future. And so when we zoom out and we allow ourselves to take on the perspective and open to the perspective that when things aren't going to plan or things aren't going how we thought they might, it could be because we're looking at such a small portion or a small time frame of our life. And actually, on a larger scale, they're working out really well for us. So really wanted to share that, and something I bang on a lot about with my clients that I really want to highlight here as part of this too is that goal setting is not about rigidly locking yourself into a plan that must happen, that feels like pressure, that is used as a measure of, am I failing or am I succeeding? That is not the purpose of goal setting. And if that has been some of the energy that goal setting has had for you up until this point, I'm really going to invite you to just let that go. Because here's what goal setting is actually about. It is about your best guess. Yeah. Your best guess at what would most light you up inside, that feels most aligned and most true to you based on what you know about yourself right here today. When you set goals from this place, here's what happens. You start taking steps toward them, and one of two things will happen. You will either continue to receive affirmation and confirmation and feel even more confident. Yes, this feels so nourishing to the truth of who I am. This feels so enlivening to me. And at times, this feels very fucking hard, but undeniably important to me. That will happen. Or as you start taking steps towards the goal that you've set, new information will reveal itself. And that gives you the opportunity to tweak the goal and move in the direction of something similar or something completely different that wouldn't have been revealed if you didn't set this goal in the first place, that is even more aligned, right? And that's why I said at the start of this episode, you're allowed to release and to shed anything, even if it was once everything you've wanted, and now you've realized you've evolved, you've changed. It's not for you anymore. Yeah. So your goals are not an invitation for you to put yourself in a pressure cooker, to call yourself a failure, to use them as a measure as to whether or not you're good enough. No. Your goals are your best guess at what is most important to you and what lights you up inside the most right now based on what you know. And then you get to continuously review that and tweak that in whatever way feels fucking good for you. And you don't have to explain that to anyone. Maybe your partner, if it has an impact on them. But you don't have to explain it to the broader community, your family, your friends, whatnot. If something feels good to you, you're allowed to follow through on it. Yeah. My word for this year hasn't landed for me yet. I have a feeling that it's going to be, and I share this with you as well in case this is true for you. Sometimes we can have a feeling about what it's like, what it is that we want, or where it is that we want to go, or what the direction is, but we can't articulate it yet, right? And so for me, I know that health and money and wealth are probably two of the bigger focuses for me in the year ahead that would feel really good to enhance even more, to expand and evolve upon even more. And some of the words that really tie that together for me feels like it's funny because abundance is one of the words that first came up for me, which I feel is like can be quite a cliche word and whatnot. And that's cool if you love that word. Ultimately, it comes down to what's my connotation of that word and what's that, does that word give me the feeling inside of what it is that I'm wanting to create and what it is I want more of and I'm going to move toward. And so some other words around this for me too are like overflow, prosperity, even the word plenty feels really good for me. And that's essentially what I want to be feeling. I want to be feeling an overflow, an abundance. I want to be feeling like I have plenty of time, plenty of health, plenty of money and wealth to support safety, security, fulfillment, joy in all the different things I want to be participating in with life, whether that's travel, whether that is, yeah, expanding on my contribution and my service to women in the space of nervous system healing and subconscious reprogramming and mental and emotional health, whether that is in my relationships, all of it. All of that is interwoven into one. This is how holistic goal setting gets to be, how we're showing up in our health is going to directly impact how we can show up in our relationships, and our relationships are going to directly impact how we can show up in our soul's purpose or our contribution or our work, which is then going to directly impact what money and wealth creation looks like. It's all interwoven. Okay, beautiful. So that covers off on the state of being and the themes in your life that you want to progress forwards in 2025. We're going to move into goal setting now. And before we do, I want to touch on, not before we do, as part of that, I want to touch on timelines. I feel that it's pretty typical that we just assume, oh, new year, now we set goals for a 12-month period. And you can, if that feels really good and nourishing, and if that feels exciting to you, if that feels like what is useful and needed for you right now, go right ahead, my love. And there are times where it just feels too disconnected to talk about a year from now. Maybe it feels too overwhelming. Maybe it feels too unrealistic. Maybe it feels too big. And maybe 3-month goals or 6-month goals might feel really good for you instead. Let your body, your soul, your heart show you what is most relevant for you right now. You can do all three if you want. You could start with, okay, here's where I want to be in 12 months' time. I would like completion on these things. So here's where I need to be in 6 months' time based on that. And here's where I need to be in 3 months' time based on that to be on track to get to this place in 12 months' time. Give yourself permission to choose the timeline that feels good for you, and it won't be the same. It shifts and changes. For me, sometimes what is most needed is super, super clear, exciting, captivating goals and vision for the next 12 weeks, and I could honestly not give a fuck about 12 months' time. So I look at 3 months instead. Let yourself choose what is true and right for you. I'll revisit the 6 key areas. Feel free to pause so that you can write these down if you need to. We spoke about them last week as well. Relationships. This includes the relationship with yourself. So these are the 6 key areas that you would want to look at setting goals. Relationships. With yourself, with your friends, with family, with children. This can also include with spirit, with God, with universe, with consciousness, or that might fit into the category of your soul's purpose as well. Like I said, everything is so interwoven. So number 1, relationships. Number 2, health. Number 3, career, business. Something that could fit in place of that if you're not working could be volunteering. It could be parenting. It could be grandparenting. Number 4 is money and wealth. Number 5 is play. Play, lifestyle and play. This includes adventure, spontaneity, fun. And as I said last week, not just in terms of scheduling holidays and weekends away and the big moments, but what is happening in the week by week? How is play showing up on a weekly basis for you? That is where the gold is. That is when you're not hanging out for the holiday and then using the holiday to like reinflate yourself because you're burnt out or exhausted or stretched so thin, right? You get to give yourself little doses and experiences of play and adventure and fun every single week. And then number 6 is your soul's purpose. So they're the 6 key areas you want to be looking at. And I'm going to now move into some questions that you can ask yourself for each of those key areas. So start with 1, move through these questions. Then move to number 2, move through these questions. Number 3, move through these questions, and so on. For most of us, there will be 1 or 2 key areas that are either calling for more of our attention because of crisis or chaos, pain, emotions, symptoms showing up that are linked into that key area. Or you might be in a stage of life where you're feeling excited and inspired and enlivened to build on something that is already amazing and that you've got the vision for the next level of how you can evolve in that key area. I spoke before about timeframes. So if you're doing 3 months or if you're doing 6 months instead of 12-month goals, just switch out the language that I use here with these questions. Feel free to hit pause if you need to record any of them. So the first one is, this time next year, where do I want to be? This time next year, where do I want to be? Now, that might be a physical location because there might be a trip or a holiday or travel you want to be on. Maybe you want to move locations, relocate. Maybe you want to experience other people around you in the physical location that you're in. Yeah, where do I want to be? But it can also, you can also use that as we'll use the word destination, a destination of 12 months' time. It's not the ultimate destination, but for that moment in time, that time frame of 12 months, where do you want to be? Where do you want to have arrived at? Do you want to have started a business that sustains you to work part-time? Or do you have a part-time business right now and you want to, this time next year, you would love for that to be supporting you full-time so that you no longer need to be employed and dependent on an employer, and you're fully in your soul's purpose, you're fully in your service and your expertise for your work. The next question number 2. This time next year, what do I want to be saying and talking about? Yeah, this time next year, what do I want to be saying? What do I want to be talking about? So is that you saying, oh my gosh, I just feel so grateful that I met Sally this year. Our friendship has just blossomed. We click straight away. I love how we have our weekend rituals where we go to the markets and for a swim. I love how we met at the same yoga studio and, every couple of weeks after class, we go and grab a chai and have a chat. Do you want to get a dog? And are you talking about how you've met all these new people at the dog park? Yeah, or at the dog beach? What is it that you want to be saying and talking about? I'm just picking out some little examples here from these different key areas of life. The next question. This time next year, what do I want to feel? This time next year, what do I want to feel? Do you want to feel that you can literally do anything that you want because your health has such a rock solid foundation to it that it provides you with freedom, that freedom to choose anything? You could go on a trip. You could decide right here, right now, I'm going to go for a 5K run, or I'm going to go for a 5-hour hike. That you can get in the car and drive interstate and visit a friend. That you can switch careers. What is it that this time next year you want to feel? And then the fourth question here. This time next year, what do I want to have experienced? Yeah, this time next year, what do I want to have experienced? I know in the past for me, there was this deep craving that I just genuinely wanted to feel proud and unquestionably confident that I had progressed forwards big time. Yeah. That the goals that I had been setting and the feelings that I'd wanted to experience and the friendships that I wanted to call in and the health that I wanted to be living from and the fulfillment in my career or my work that I wanted to be experiencing on a day-to-day basis where it actually energized me. Overall, one of the things I wanted to feel in a year's time was that those things had genuinely, unquestionably progressed forwards in a significant, big way, right? Where I had this feeling in my body of no one can convince me that my life is the same as it was last year. It has transformed. It is so different because I had years upon years of evidence of feeling like, whilst I might not have been setting the exact same goals, they were still similar. And there was this feeling internally of like, yeah, like I see, I have done things differently and I have moved forwards, but I don't know, I feel like there's definitely some untapped potential that could have happened in the last 12 months that hasn't happened. And I don't know why. Yeah. Is it that you want to feel more nourished as a mother? Do you want to feel some of those words that I used before? Do you want to feel like you're in overflow as a mother? That you're not just this giving machine that has nothing left for herself or others at the end of each day or the end of each week? Yeah. Instead, do you want to feel nourished and alive and like you're thriving as a mother? Is that something you want to experience in this next year? Is there some sort of lifestyle shift that you want to experience? Yeah. Maybe emotional eating is something that is really front and center for you and it's in your face almost every single day. And it just feels like something that takes up so much of your mental space and so much of your energy, so much willpower and discipline. And you know that if that was taken care of, far out would some of your other goals progress because you would have so many inner resources of time, energy, attention, focus, maybe even money to put in other directions. And so, is it some sort of lifestyle shift? Like, consistently eating healthy whole foods, feeling free from the grips of emotional eating. Is that something that you want to experience? Yeah. Feeling free from the grips of emotional eating. That is don't want language still, right? But it's a beautiful place to start. So if you don't want to feel like you are controlled and at the mercy of food cravings or food thoughts or food patterns or food habits, what do you want instead? Yeah, beautiful. So they're the 4 questions. Feel free to hit pause here if you've written them down, uh, and move through those and answer the questions, set some goals based on the information that you find. Here's a bonus question that's just popped in. What's my most honest answer about what I want in this key area of life? It can be as simple as that. What is my most honest answer about what I want in this key area of life? Cool. We'll move on to the last 2 parts of this. The first is we're going to check that it's true to you, that these goals that you've set and what you've written down really are true for you. They're not for anyone else. It's not because you think you should or you have to or it's the right thing to do. Actually, it's right for you. So, a couple of questions here. Why do I want this? Yeah, what causes me to want this? Why do I want this? Is the first question. And then the second question is, what do I gain by having it? Yeah, what do I gain by having it? So, one of the goals that I have for next year is to learn to speak German because my partner's parents don't speak English. And so far, I can say Guten Morgen, Guten Nacht, Auf Wiedersehen, and I can say Ich liebe dich. And that's it. And I definitely can't spell all those words yet. So that's going to be a big focus for me. And what it's going to get me is so much more meaningful connection. Definitely with Harry's parents, and also with our future children as well, because they'll be bilingual. And it's something that's really important to me for connection, for love. I would say also for nourishment. And it brings a real depth of meaning to life for me, that goal. That's primarily, but it also excites me to do something I've never done before. I've never properly, other than school where you learn little bits and pieces, I've never properly learnt a second language. And it's so different to any goal I've probably set before. And it's already bringing such playfulness and fun and connection into my relationship with Harry as well. So that's an example. Can you hear as I'm explaining that, like why I want that, what causes me to want that, and what I'm going to gain from that? Can you hear how genuine and true that is for me? Yeah. Uh, that's what we want you to feel. That's what we want you to check for. So that's the checking step and the checking questions for whether or not it's true for you. Now I'm going to give you some questions to check on your inner resources, inner and outer, but the resources you have available, and make sure you're being realistic with that. My favorite quote for doing this is, you can have anything, but you can't have everything all at once. Yeah. And so I can't travel, learn a new language, uh, be at the peak of training in the gym, be studying more Vedic philosophy and wisdom, be running my business full time. I can add more. I can't do all that all at once. Yeah. They are things that will be spread across a 12-month period, but sometimes all the things that we have listed and all the things that we want won't necessarily fit into a 12-month period either. Yeah, there's already things that I've pulled out of next year as goals or commitments where I can just see, if I keep all of that in, I'm going to spread myself so thin that I won't be present and I won't enjoy it. And I'll be complaining and whinging. I'll be exhausted. My relationships won't be as fulfilling because I won't be bringing my best self. I won't have saved enough of myself to give. I'll be giving out what I need for myself. Yeah. So the question based on that is, what do you need to let go of? Yeah. What do you need to let go of or put on hold? Yeah. What do you maybe need to reschedule or allocate to a different time? You might not even know what that time is yet, right? It might be something that's really exciting to you, really important to you. And you can see, if you try and do everything, you'll get nowhere. Nothing will get done well. And so you might not even know when it's going to happen, but you're allocating it to a future time. Yeah. Really, really important. And some of these resources I've spoken about: time, energy, also money. Yeah. Looking at that, it can be one of the most difficult key areas of life for women, everyone, for women to be honest with themselves about. Yeah, to have complete line of sight to be taking responsibility and bringing their queen energy to that part of their life. Yeah. Uh, this is definitely not from me. I feel like maybe DeMartini, I might have heard say this, but all we have to do is look at our bank account, and that will show us what we are actually valuing. What is it that we're spending our money on? Yeah, is it material items? Is it things like alcohol or nails and, getting lashes done? Or is it buying excessive gifts that will end up as landfill because, we want to be viewed in a certain way? I said to my family this year, this is the third time I'm flying home. I am your gift. There will be 0 Christmas gifts coming from me, and I don't expect any in return. Right? And that's because I am very tapped into my resources. I know where aligned compromises need to be made with time, energy, and money for me to be able to achieve my goals. And I promise you, every single one of the goals that I've set for this year and that I've achieved in years prior have come with aligned compromises, aligned sacrifices. I was speaking with a woman the other day, and she was talking about how she really just doesn't feel like she can keep continuing in her line of work because she's evolved beyond it, and she's really clear that she wants to start her own thing in the wellness, health, wellness, mind, body, energetic space. And she can't afford to do that if she keeps living the lifestyle that she's living currently. And one of the things that she said to me that I absolutely adored, she said, that kind of excites me. I'm going to need to sit down and look at where my money is going and change that and pull back on things so that I can make this lifestyle choice and change gears with my career in the short term that is actually going to require me to let go of quite a bit of my lifestyle so that I can have this thing that I want, which is going to work each day to do something that lights me up inside rather than absolutely depletes me. And with time, that will shift and change, but it will take time. Yeah. And so these are the sorts of aligned compromises and aligned sacrifices. There's two examples there, me with the Christmas gifts and this woman I was speaking to, a client, with her lifestyle spending. Yeah. And then the last question I have for you, my love, around checking your resources is, of everything you have listed down as a goal across all the 6 key areas of life, everything that you've listed that you want to be, you want to be saying and talking about, you want to be feeling, you want to have experienced, what is your number one of all those things? What is of absolute highest, most importance? If you have awareness to what that is, it's going to make your life so much easier in the year ahead. And it's also going to help you know and anchor into the moments of what these aligned compromises or sacrifices need to be, what to prioritize, what needs to be put on pause, or what needs to be let go of, or what needs to be accepted at maybe a lower standard. Yeah. For example, at different stages of growing my business, the standard of cleanliness in my house has definitely had to drop. Right? Another way I can ask you this is, what do you need to become even more imperfect at? Release your standards of perfectionism so that you free your resources of time and energy, possibly money as well, to send in the direction of what is most important to you. Not so that you can do it perfectly, but so you can do it very well. You can do it to a high standard. Beautiful. That's what I have for you. Thank you so much. If you are one of the women that just listens week in, week out, thank you too if you're a newer listener as well. I so appreciate you being here. There are so many different podcasts you could be listening to. In the early stages of next year, we're actually going to hit 100 episodes, which is a huge milestone and so exciting. The podcast is over 2 years old now. And so I just wanted to say a massive thank you. And if you feel called to, I would love to hear what the podcast has brought into your life or how it's helped you this year. You can send me a DM on Instagram, or you can email me. My email address is gemma@gemmahanley.com. I love to connect and hear and learn more about you. And most of all, I wish you a really calm, really exciting, really confident entry into 2025 where you feel really clear on who you are and what is calling you forwards. Big love. Bye.
Thank you for being here for this conversation, my love. If you would like more free resources, if you'd like to learn about my programs or coaching opportunities, you can find all of that information at my website, gemmahanley.com. I'll link it below in the show notes. And if you would like to connect daily, head over and find me on Instagram. My handle there is Gemma E. Hanley, and I reply to all of my DMs there personally. If you enjoyed this episode and found it valuable, please share it with someone. You never know who needs to hear one little thing to take their day from feeling stuck and heavy to light and free. See you on the next one.